Life changed in one weekend. Since junior high school, our daughter Karen has had a best friend, Paula. I swear I can claim her as a dependent since she spends most of her time here. I bet she sleeps here at least 4 nights a week and eats here 5 days a week. They share clothes, shoes, and sometimes boyfriends. In the spring of her senior year, my wife Tammy asked Paula what her plans were, and she said she was enrolled in veterinary school at the same local college as Karen. The only problem was that she had just found out that her mother was moving to Texas to take care of her aunt who had cancer. So now Paula was looking for a job and an apartment. Paula was always a good helper when she stayed here. She cleaned the kitchen, vacuumed the floors, helped with the laundry, and did anything her wife asked. Tammy didn't have to think long, and she asked, "Do you want to live here and be a housekeeper? We'll give room and board and $150 a week. Is that suitable?" Paula hugged her, tears running down her cheeks. That evening when I got home, Tammy told me what she had offered Paula. She had a smug look on her face and asked me, "What do you think?" Honestly, I think Karen will be furious when she finds out that we are paying Paula $150 a week. Maybe if Karen did anything at home, things would be different, Tammy said. Her room is a mess. If Paula or I don't clean it up, the mess doesn't stop. She doesn't even do laundry and scolds me if the clothes she needs aren't washed. She says she's looking for work, so she doesn't have time to help here or clean. But almost every McDonald's I see has helpers wanted signs posted. True to my prediction, Karen had a blast. For the first week or so, she did get something going, but then gradually it was back to business as usual. On the 1st of July, Paula started working. The day Paula moved in, Karen welcomed her with open arms. I wasn't sure if it was because of their long-time friendship or because there was now someone to do her chores for her. The first week of August was my birthday. Nothing fancy, we just grilled hamburgers and chips and had ice cream cake for dessert. After dinner, we opened presents. I got a couple of shirts from my wife and a movie pass for 2 from my daughter. There was a card from Paula. It simply said, "Happy birthday, Tom," from Paula, and a heart. I was puzzled, but just closed the card, slipped it back into the envelope, and put it in my pocket. After dinner, we took the dishes to the kitchen, and Karen and Tammy went to the bedroom to talk. I was putting the dishes in the dishwasher, and Paula was doing it with me when she leaned closer and whispered, "Someday I'll have a special gift for you." I was puzzled by her words. Paula and I were just finishing cleaning up the kitchen when a distraught Tammy walked in. I asked, "What's wrong, dear?" "Your daughter has decided she wants to go to college in Sacramento and live with her grandmother at Rancho Cordova. She wants me to go with her and check out the school. I need to make flight and car rental arrangements. Why does she always bombard me with these last-minute problems?" I called my mother to get the details firsthand. "No need for a rental car," Mom said, "because my little Buick is free. I know it's 6 years old, but it only has 35,000 miles on it." Mom also told me that Karen needs a California driver's license, and to get it, she needs proof of insurance with her name on it so she can get residency rates for college. Karen was very excited and was busy checking out colleges online, but Tammy didn't want to send her daughter to a college she didn't know. I asked her, "Honey, if you feel that way, why don't you fly there with her and check out the college yourself? That way you can help Karen register and see her grandmother. You know how much she cares about both of you." Tommy booked tickets online for next week. The two of them were busy packing and preparing for the girls' getaway, while Paula and I kept up the home front. Thursday night, we drove the girls to the airport. On the way home, Paula sat next to me while we listened to satellite radio. Paula attended summer classes and went to school almost every morning at 7:30 and stayed until about 3 or 4 hours in the afternoon, depending on the day of the week. Then she would come home and clean up. I have to say that our house never looked cleaner. On Friday, after coming home from work, I said to her, "How about I take you out to dinner?" Paula shrieked in appreciation and gave me a big hug. I asked her, "Anything or any special place?" She took one look and asked with a smile, Could we go to the Ivy Fountain? I thought for a moment because that place does have some pretty expensive food, but it's excellent and I hadn't been there in a while, so I said, I'd love to take you if there are seats available. I called the information desk, got a number, and found out we could come in for dinner at 6:30. Give me 20 minutes to get ready, Paula said. I shaved and put on a nice white shirt, tie, pants, sports jacket, and loafers. I walked out into the lobby and Paula was wearing one of Karen's dresses, only she filled it out much better. Her breasts bulged out in the front, and the material fit her body so tightly that it was easy to see that she wasn't wearing anything underneath. I felt a little awkward taking this sexy young girl out, but when she asked, "Are you ready? I'm looking forward to it," I felt like I was in middle school again. I took her hand and headed to the restaurant as if it were a date. As we walked through the restaurant, men threw envious glances at us, and women threw disapproving glances at us. After we were seated, the waiter brought out a bottle of wine and asked if we wanted a glass. Paula said, "I'd like a Riesling, please." "May I see your ID?" I almost shit myself since I knew she was only 18. But Paula started going through her bag. The waiter said, "Okay, since you're looking for it, I'll get it." Then he asked me what I wanted, and I said, "Bourbon and water, please." Taking Paula's hand, I whispered, "What would you do if he wanted to see your ID?" She grinned and pulled out her driver's license from the bottom of her purse, where her date of birth had been changed to show she was 21. Shaking my head, I said, "You are a very naughty girl." "Don't feel bad for me. Karen has one too." I gulped. "Karen? What else don't I know about my daughter?" Paula smiled and said, "How about we just enjoy each other's company and dinner? We'll have time for that conversation another time. Have you ever been here before?" After looking around at all the paintings, tapestries, and European decor, she sighed and said, "I've been in." "Puzzled?" I asked. "What do you mean?" She continued. "My freshman year, Brent Johnson asked me to prom. His older brother told him this was the right place to impress the girls. Brent invited me here for dinner. We ordered Coca-Colas and talked about school, friends, and teachers. Then the waiter came over and asked if we were ready to order. Brent told him we needed a few more minutes. He opened the menu, and when he saw the prices, he almost shit himself. He opened his wallet and counted how much money he had. I think he could barely pay for the cheapest meal. He looked at me. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize this place was so expensive." Put $10 on the table to cover a Coke, and we left. "I'm so sorry. I can only imagine the embarrassment you both must have felt. For tonight, I don't want you looking at prices. Is that understood?" She smiled from ear to ear. Paula had a calf a la Oscar and I had a T-bone. She made a happy sound with each bite. We had Napoleons for dessert, and they were fantastic. When we got home, I made myself a bourbon and water and watched the news. I could hear Paula fiddling around in the laundry room with the washer and dryer running. When the news was over, I texted Tammy and asked how things were going. She replied, "We just got back from dinner. Your mom knows the best place for ribs." I took my phone with me to the bedroom and got ready for bed. I usually only wear nylon boxers to bed, and tonight was no exception. As I lay down, I wondered what else our daughter had done that I should know about. I wondered why my wife always gave in to her. I thought it was fathers spoiling their daughters. Shortly after midnight, I thought I was dreaming. I thought someone had crawled into bed with me. A soft little hand slid over my shoulder, then moved to gently stroke my breast. Then the hand flipped me over onto my back. My mind wasn't sure if this was a dream or reality. Then a figure slid down on top of me. At first, I thought Tammy had somehow gotten home early, but when she lay on top of me, the firm breasts and flat tummy puzzled me. It was Paula. She was naked and pressed up against me. I started to say something, but she put a finger to my lips, shaking her head negatively. Paula kissed me. I ran my hands up and down her soft skin, exploring her body. Paula grinned and said, "Is that it, Tom?" Oh, yes. Paula smiled and said, "It's okay. I'll just wake you up again and we can try again. Do you realize this is a one-time thing?" Paula smiled and said, "Well, Tommy won't be back until Monday. We have the whole weekend ahead of us." I hugged her and said, "Tommy won't realize we're making love. She'd say I'm cheating and she'd get a divorce. Either that or she would make my life so miserable to convince me it wasn't worth it." Paula smiled and said, "But that's until you have an ace up your sleeve." "What are you talking about?" Paula looked at me and said, "I promised I wouldn't tell only if absolutely necessary. My curiosity was killing me, so I asked, 'Do you have anything on Tammy?' She smiled and said, 'Maybe.' And with a wide smile, she lowered herself on top of me and made me stir. She lay down next to me. Soon we made love. After that, we fell asleep, cuddled together. I fell asleep wondering what Paula had on my wife, that she thought she could have sex with me and not worry about Tammy. Soon I heard the sound of my phone informing me of an incoming message. It was Tammy telling me their itinerary in case I needed it and that she would see me early Monday morning. As I put my phone on the dresser, Paula woke up and pulled up next to me. I said, "Let me use the bathroom before we start anything, okay?" She smiled and said, "Sure, I have to go too." Relieved, she took me back to the bed and gently laid me down. Paula then moved upstairs. Paula said, "No, you have good taste. She certainly didn't have any problems with," and she fell silent. "With who? What are you talking about?" Paula got out of bed and said, "I'm sorry, I've been thinking." My mind was racing with what Paula probably knew about Tammy. I got dressed, went to the garage, and changed the oil in the car. I was going to change the spark plugs and wires, but I was having trouble concentrating. I gave up and went back inside to get something cold to drink. Later, I got a call from an irritated Tammy. I've been shuttling back and forth between the licensing department, the local office of our insurance company, and the college all this day. What really pisses me off is that I found out that the whole thing could have been faxed in through our lawyer. I'm sitting here drinking a strong vodka tonic and plan to drink more. Our daughter is a royal pain in the ass. "Honey, you'll get through this," I said to my wife. I felt terrible remorse for playing with Paula, so I went for a walk in the park. It was supposed to be relaxing, but I kept thinking about what Paula had started to say. What did she have on my wife? As I watched the clouds turn orange from the setting sun, I realized I'd better get home. When I walked in the front door, the smells filling the house were a pleasant surprise. I went into the kitchen, and the food wasn't the only shock. Paula was wearing only an apron. She was leaning over a roast in the oven, giving me a clear view of her ass. I whistled wolfishly at her and said, "Dinner sure smells good, but I can see what I want for dessert." Paula turned and winked at me, saying, "Oh, I'm sure your wish will come true." She served me a delicious dinner of roast pork with carrots, mashed potatoes, and gravy with homemade cookies. She kept her apron on while we ate, which I found very appealing. Paula and I did the dishes together, but I had a hard time keeping my hand away from her cute butt. When the last of the dishes were dry, she took off her apron and hung it on the oven door. When we left the kitchen, she took my hand and asked me, "Isn't it too early to go to bed?" Just looking at that 18-year-old hard body, I said, "We need to talk first." I don't know why, but we kept walking and ended up in my bedroom sitting on the bed. Trying to be serious with her, I said, "I need to know what you have on Tammy that makes you think you can get away with our sex. Otherwise, I'm going to have to call this off, no matter how much I enjoy playing with you." Paula raised her voice slightly, saying, "But I promised, and yet I need to know." She sat for a few minutes thinking it over, then took a deep breath and said, "You know how Karen always gets her way with her mother?" I said, "Well, it's something I've been thinking about, especially lately." Paula continued, "Do you remember Harold, the old retired widower who lived a couple houses down, the pool guy? I said, "Yeah, I remember him. He died about a year ago, if I remember correctly. What's he got to do with it?" "You know, Tammy used to go down and swim with him from time to time." "Well, they were having an affair." "What?" I exclaimed. "A couple years ago, Karen and I came home from school early from school and saw her sneaking through the side gate to his pool. We changed into our costumes and decided to join her for a swim. As we were about to open the gate, we heard her making love and looked out the gate, only to see her on the diving board. He was telling her what a good little cheater she was and that he loved her. It was almost a year before he died." Paula looked at me and said, "That's not all. The day he died, one of the neighbors said they overheard the paramedics saying he was in the middle of sex when he died of a heart attack, and another neighbor said they thought they saw Tammy running out of the backyard just before the paramedics arrived. Tammy convinced them she was at the mall at the time. Someone made an anonymous 911 call from his house, but whoever it was changed their voice. Technically, that's a felony. I couldn't believe my ears. It was hard for me to comprehend the fact that my wife was cheating on me. It was like a punch in the gut, even though I had just cheated on her with Paula. I told her, "Honey, I think I need some time alone to digest all this. How about you go to your own bed tonight? Please." Paula kissed me on the cheek and said, "If you change your mind, you know where I am." I lay in bed, unable to sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, scrolling through various scenarios of my wife and old Harold. He was probably 25, maybe 30 years older than us. Yes, when we were alone, he bragged about all the women he'd slept with when he was younger. But I never imagined him sleeping with mine. He bragged about how much they loved him. Tommy worked as a cook for the school district, and her workday was until 2:30, which meant she had free time to do whatever she wanted. In the morning, I was awakened by a quiet knock on the door. It was a little after 8 Oz. Paula was holding a cup of coffee, and I needed it. She walked over and held it out to me. Taking my free hand in hers, she said, "I'm sorry I told you about Tammy. We promised her we wouldn't tell anyone about it, especially you." "So she knows you know?" Well, after we saw them on the diving board, Karen and I kept going back and taking pictures of them. Karen has a whole collection doing this in different locations and positions. She used your Canon with a telephoto lens. One day when we wanted to go to a party and Tammy wouldn't let us, Karen told her she would tell you about Harold. When Tammy asked what proof she had, Karen went to her bedroom, printed out a couple pictures from the ones she had, and brought them in. After 10 minutes of screaming, Tammy sat down and cried. She said that Harold had told her how beautiful she was. He then asked her if she would let him take a picture, and she thought it would be fun. From there it went to nude photos, and then one day he suggested they take a nude swim. And then one day it just happened. Karen and I felt like she was kind of hiding the truth, but we didn't pay attention to it. Karen had hidden a few thumb drives with those pictures in the house in case Tammy went looking and found one. I thought for a minute and said, "The problem is now that I know her leverage over her mother is gone, isn't it?" "Ups." Taking her hand again, I asked, "So what do you know about Karen?" Swaying a little on her feet and closing her eyes a little, she said, "Karen had a reputation at school for being, easygoing." "You mean the little cheater?" And the real reason she wanted to go to UCLA in Sacramento was because of Johnny, the guy she's in love with. She says he's the best lover she's ever had. I just shook my head and said, "Like mother, like daughter." When I finished my coffee, she took the cup from me and set it on the nightstand and pounced on me, kissing me forcefully. After that, we made love again. After that, we took a shower, and I took her to IHOP near the mall. After breakfast, we went to Victoria's Secrets, and I bought her some lingerie sets. The salesgirls looked at us quite intently, an older man with a young girl. I was really enjoying it. One of the salesgirls asked Paula, "Is that your father?" Paula whispered in her ear, "No, he's my lover." They both giggled. When we got home, I mowed the yard and tried to clear my head of Tammy and Harold. I mean, this guy was older than her father. Why on earth would she have an affair with him? What was I supposed to do? I pulled out a knife and was so preoccupied with my thoughts that I almost cut my leg off. I was lucky I didn't sever a few toes. After I finished raking the trash, I headed for the shower. I opened the back door and saw Paula. She was wearing the new underwear we bought along with those tall, red, high-heeled shoes. Doing a pirouette in front of me, she asked, "Do you like it?" "Very much," I replied with a wide smile on my face. "Right now, I need a shower and clean clothes," and headed to my bedroom to undress and shower. I soaped up my hair, soap dripping down my face when I heard the shower door click. I reached for the door but found that Paula had entered the shower. She took my hand and clung to me tightly and then rubbed my scalp with her long fingernails. It felt so good. "Rinse your head," she said. I did as she said. Then she asked me to turn around, which I did. She soaped my back and ran her nails down my back, scratching as she scrubbed. I tried, but I couldn't remember the last time Tammy and I had showered together. The more I thought about it, the more we had drifted apart over the last 5 years or so. Sex between us had become more and more distant and almost mechanical. I wondered if that was when the affair with Harold began. We took a long shower, soaping each other up and rubbing our slippery bodies against each other before rinsing and wiping ourselves off. I wasn't ready for sleep and asked Paula, "Do you know where one of the flash drives is?" Throwing me a thoughtful look, she said, "Tom, are you really sure you want to see them together?" I actually asked her a few years ago to join a swingers club so I could watch her with another man. And maybe play with another woman. I really wanted to see Tammy with another man. She said I was a pervert. Paula thought for a while and said, "Sex between consenting adults sounds like a lot of fun. Maybe you could take me with you sometime." "Really? Would you like that?" Her eyes widened, and a smile filled her face as she nodded. She left the room and asked me to meet her at my computer. In my office, I turned on my computer and waited for her to return. Soon she returned, dressed in her new underwear with a flash drive in her hand. The folder opened, revealing hundreds of pictures. When I saw Harold, I could hardly believe my eyes and wondered how my wife had even slept with him. After looking at as many as I could stand, I saved the file to my computer and turned it off. I went into the living room, turned on the news, and tried to relax. Paula made us hot tea and whiskey. When we were done, she lifted me off the couch and led me down the hall to the bedroom, threw back the covers and climbed into bed, gesturing for me to join her. How could I say no? We made love several more times that night before we had to leave to pick up Tammy on the early morning flight. Tammy stood waiting for us. After stowing her luggage, she plopped into the front seat and closed her eyes. We drove home mostly in silence. When our town showed up, I asked her, "Did everything go well?" Shaking her head, Tammy said, "That daughter of yours, I swear she made me store a few clothing stores because she needed clothes for college right now." Then, as soon as we pulled into the parking garage, she asked, "How did it go for you?" Visions of making love to Paula ran through my head, and I knew it was best to keep my mouth shut. Then I thought about her and our neighbor and said, "You know, Tammy, you won't have to be Karen's errand boy anymore." She looked at me puzzled and asked, "What do you mean?" "Honey, you don't have to play coy with me. I know what she was blackmailing you with," I told her as we got out of the car. Tommy gave Paula one of those looks that can kill and then came over to me and asked, "What did she tell you?" I suggested we go sit in the living room and finish this conversation. The three of us walked in and were about to sit down when Tammy said, "Tom, I need wine. No, whiskey. More." I almost told her to get it herself, but I didn't. I looked at Paula and asked, "Riesling?" She smiled and nodded. I made their drinks and brought them over. Tammy drank about half of her drink and then said, "Harold was such a nice old man. I used to come over and use his pool. It was good exercise. He would sit by the pool and sip his drink. He used to make drinks for me, too. He always told me how beautiful I was. Then he talked me into buying a bikini. I never thought I was cut out for a bikini, but he insisted. It made him so happy. He grabbed his camera and said he wanted to take some pictures. I thought it was pretty cute. "Didn't I tell you you were beautiful?" "You should have. You're married to me," she continued. He made me pose in different places around and in the pool. He used floats and balls as props. Then he started positioning me, first untying one of my bikini ties in some photos, then the bottom one in others. This progressed to topless, and eventually he got me to pose nude. It took a little while, but he made me feel so beautiful. I didn't think about you or being married. All I could think about was him. That's how our affair began. I caught myself constantly thinking about how I wanted him more and more. I knew it wasn't fair to you, but it was an itch that needed scratching, and he was the only one who could scratch it. The day he died was a very bad day for me. He had just put chemicals in the pool and we couldn't use it, so we decided to play in the house. We playfully chased each other around, and he was already making love to me on the coffee table when we moved to his bed. As I started to make love to him, he started making strange noises. I continued, then I looked down and realized he wasn't breathing. I killed him. I grabbed his cell phone and started calling 911. Then I thought if I did that, they would find out about me, and I didn't want you or the neighbors to know. I ran around the house, wiping down all the doorknobs and the phone, even the toilet handle. I put my underwear back on and covered him. Then I ran to the kitchen and grabbed some marshmallows, stuffing them down my cheeks. Then I put the pillow on my phone and called 911, saying the person at that address had a heart attack, and then slipped out the back door. "Would you ever be able to forgive me?" I didn't know what to say. Hearing it from her was harder than hearing it from Paula. Paula didn't go into detail like Tammy did. Tammy tried to take my hand, but I pulled away first. Seeing that this was crushing her, I reached out and took her hand to comfort her. Through her tears, she said, "I assume you want a divorce?" Not knowing how to phrase my next sentence, I thought for a moment before answering. "Darling, for the last 5 years or more, our life has really been going downhill, and while you made love to Harold, it almost didn't exist, even though I didn't know you were sleeping with him. Remember when I asked you about going to the swingers club?" Tammy nodded. "And what did you say when I asked you about it?" She lowered her head, looking down at her lap, and said quietly, "That I couldn't share you with another woman." "Exactly. You told me you couldn't share me with another woman while you were making love to Harold." Tears were rolling down Tammy's face, and I said, "You know, did you ever think of telling me that you wanted him? That I might enjoy watching you make love to him? That's one of the reasons I suggested we go to a swing club." Her tears stopped, and I had Tammy and Paula's full attention. Tammy looked at me and said, "You mean you're not going to file for divorce?" "I'm still thinking about it, but there will be some changes in our house." "Like what?" "You have to move all your stuff out of our bedroom and into Karen's room." "But Paula's in there." I got up, walked over, and sat next to Paula. Then I said to Tammy, "Paula will move her things to my room." Tammy stood up and shouted, "You mean you and Paula?" I stopped her and said, "Would you rather get a divorce and maybe go to jail?" "Yes. By the way, Paula and I are going to a swingers club. If you don't mind, you're welcome to join us. Maybe you'll find a guy like Harold. Well, Paula is very pleased with me." Tammy just stood there with her mouth open for a while and then went to our bedroom to start moving her things around. Funny how life can change in a weekend. The end! Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.